Hey everyone, checking in on the market. So we saw the little clues that were leading to the pullback. We lost the daily uptrend, pointed everything out in the video yesterday. We've gotten follow through today. Now we are looking at a couple scenarios. We obviously haven't seen any meaningful bounce yet, but we know a meaningful bounce is likely coming in the near term future. And the two scenarios are going to be, we bounce, we set a lower high and a lower low, confirming the downtrend and looking for further weekly consolidation, or we bounce, set a lower high, hold the low of the pullback, and then see a bull break for continuation, which would be a scenario for a weekly bull flag. So how much we pull back before the actual bounce gets started is important because that tells us the distance, the percentage distance we have to go to see continuation. And of course, the size of the bounce and the volume behind the bounce will be important as well. Increasing bear volume, the hourly RSI with extended hours on, did bounce just from oversold levels. You can see the RSI is not getting very extended this entire pullback. We touch 30 or go just below it, and then we bounce. And that has now happened 5 different times. We're watching this tightening hourly, or I should say the tightening, yes, the hourly RSI is in an equilibrium. A lot of traders use the RSI trends, and that's something that they watch. So watching how this equilibrium of the RSI and how that breaks would be telling. We have clear hourly lower highs to be watching. Anything under 276.30 is a lower high. We had a little bounce at the end of the day, but we know that if it doesn't break 276.30, it's just a lower high, keeping the downtrend intact. 4-hour RSI at this point is getting close to oversold as well. So again, that's another reason we're looking for a short-term bounce to take place in the near-term future. IWM continues to lead the way to the downside, just like it did to the upside, and it gave some clear red flags for the markets that are now following. Same thing on the hourly. Anything under 153.14 is just a lower high, keeping the bears in full control. Next support, and I'll go back and do the daily support for SPY here, but the next support for IWM after the low of today has us looking down at 151.15 as the next level. RSI, the 4-hour, pretty extended at this point, so definitely looking for an oversold bounce here as well with extended hours on. That 4-hour RSI is already oversold. SPY daily support from here, we had the gap fill target as our level. We filled that gap, and now there's another gap that we're going to be looking down at, and that's down here at 271.49. So 271.49 is on watch, and there's a support level before that, 272.87. Those are the next two targets to be watching if we do see continued pullback. And for IWM, it's the daily gap at 150.115. So on to QQQ. We were saying how QQQ had to pull back for SPY to get any real weakness, and now we are losing the uptrend on QQQ. It held on longer than most other names, but not the case anymore. So we're pulling back. Next support, 170.71 did hold today. So that's the first support level. We have another one at 169.83 after that. So those are the two supports to be watching. And on the hourly time frame, we're not as overextended, but RSI bouncing right off 30. So we're not getting to two extended levels before these short-term bounces do occur. Lower high, anything under 172.67 on the hourly keeps the lower high pattern intact for QQQ. So we're watching the RSI levels, the hourly downtrends. When we change the hourly trend, that's when we're looking for the bounce on the daily to take place to give us those daily lower highs that we are anticipating. Financial sector continuing to pull back. Support here is going to be 25.73. 25.34 is the most important level for me here, and that's because that's our weekly higher low as well. And if that level is lost, that will be very significant for the financial sector. Hourly RSI on the financial sector, again, didn't dip very far below 30 before these short-term bounces. Anything under 26.05 is just a lower high. VIX bulls got follow-through, upper wick of profit-taking by the end of the day, so we are over the exponential resistances. Close over them for the first time since that pullback from the December dump. So that's a notable shift in momentum. We're going to look for the bull cross of the 12 over the 26 period sometime perhaps next week. And on any pullback here, as long as the bulls hold the double bottom at 1340, we're looking for a higher low to form. And at this point on the weekly chart, it's a bullish reversal candlestick, and we'll see how much follow through the bulls can get. Again, the hourly RSI getting a little bit, well, the RSI itself's not getting too extended here. And you can see it's also in a bit of an equilibrium as the hourly time frame is in an equilibrium as well. So short term for VIX, we got the high, low the pullback today, lower high, and the bulls are going to try and form a higher low compared to 1590. How this hourly equilibrium breaks is going to dictate whether we see daily consolidation for a higher low or whether we see continuation of this bull move and have the markets end the week really weak. Oil tightening up still. So we held support. We broke support by a couple pennies, but we're going to consider that holding support essentially. But we couldn't break 57.17 resistance. So we do still have a tightening pattern. And if we look at it on the 4-hour, it's just a high, low, lower high, almost a double bottom, lower high. So $55.43 and $55 are the key supports. If this market weakness is going to continue with weekly consolidation, the bears want to see a break of $55 on oil to indicate weakness in oil and weekly consolidation to bring down the energy sector and to help the market pull back further. Natural gas, very healthy on the daily. This is ideal consolidation at this point. We had the 4-hour loss of the uptrend. It did not last long. The bullish reaction to the inventory report today broke the 4-hour lower high. So trying to change that momentum back in favor of the bulls. And as we know, when we break a support level with our lower high and lower low and do not get significant follow through, we zoom out and look for flags. And this is a bull flag on the daily time frame at this point. And for continuation from here, we're going to be looking up at that resistance of 2889 and then up towards $3 psychological. Best case scenario for the bulls heading into early next week would be a 4-hour higher low and higher high breaking 2889, the current temporary top. So that's where we stand as we head into tomorrow. Bears keeping control, watching for the shift in the hourly momentum to indicate that a daily bounce is taking place. I still am holding my SPXS hedge position, hedging my parents' portfolio, and entered that one in the upper 277s and then just held on to it because we never convincingly broke the weekly resistance in the 281 range. And I'm just going to sit on that for a while, and I'm going to wait and make decisions based on how this daily chart plays out. Because if we get the bounce, lower high, higher low, higher high, I would probably exit. But if we get the bounce and the potential for continuation down, I would want to keep holding that position. So hope you're well. Do some good things out there, and we'll see you over the weekend. So now we got chapter 5 as we are heading across the country. We left off in Missouri, skipping across Kansas, heading to Boulder, Colorado. I've been on the road at about a month at this point, and in Boulder, I had lined up a spot for woofing, and I've talked about that a few times, worldwide opportunities on organic farms, and they have every end of the spectrum where you have full-fledged farms that go to markets, and you have just older women living by themselves who can't keep track or can't keep up with their garden and the yard work and the hard labor and splitting wood, and they just need help. So you exchange 25, 30 hours a week of labor for room and board, and I cannot stress enough how awesome this is and how everybody should do it. And I've done it maybe 6 different times around the country, and it's completely immersing yourself in someone else's lifestyle. So, learning to forage mushrooms in West Virginia or discovering, secret little watering holes up in Northern California. There's just so much, even the books that people have and reading their books in the downtime, eating their food and watching, how they incorporate the local produce that's out in the woods, scavenging around, and how they put, lamb's quarter in their meals and things like that. You just learn so much so quickly. So I would generally break it up. I do a month on the road, then I do maybe 2 weeks of woofing, and that allows me to have a bed and, have a shower and have nice food. When I was saying I was living minimalist, I definitely was, where, I was eating cold cans of soup in my cars at some points. So when you get a nice home-cooked meal, that can make all the difference in the world. So after a month, I was heading that way towards Boulder. There were a couple things in Kansas, but the green is what you want to see, because green is national parks, national forests, places to camp, and you can see Kansas is just void of all of that, and it's really flat. But it's nice when you get close to the west border and you see the big looming Rocky Mountains ahead, and it's just this constant growing excitement, and excitement grows with the size of the mountains as you approach them. This was one of the stops in Kansas where we had an overhang and some kind of barn swallow, mud swallow, birds were making these little nests, and they were just going nuts. And I said I love observing nature, but just watching, 100 of these birds whip in and out of here and chattering and just party time and watching how they all interact was very interesting. And they had some of these dead forests that are swamplands, and I always like these landscapes. I think it's a nice, cool, eerie spot. Nice sunset reflecting off the dead trees in the water. So then there's a fuzzy, blurry baby bunny, but got over to woofing. This was her house. This was her backyard, and just incredible view. And my job was to take care of Nina, who was a border collie mix, and she just wanted to work. She wanted a job. She wanted to run. So my job was to take her out for, a half hour every day, throw her the ball, and just run with her. So that was an awesome task. Part of my 30 hours is just, 7 hours a week taking this dog out to play with her. And she loved playing with that ball. So in the backyard, we just had raised beds. So again, it's not a farm. This was just a little homestead, and it was just a single woman who needed some help. And so she has all these beans growing here and garlic and probably 8 different beds that had been pretty well established and run for years. And then around the other side of the house, there were all these perennials and cool flowers and things. So it was an awesome house. And after being there for a week and, just doing my routine and getting ready to keep going on my way, she gave me the offer, hey, do you want to house sit? I need to leave for a month. And do you want to hold down the house and keep the plants alive and take care of Nina? And I said, absolutely. So I went and adventured in the Rocky Mountain National Park and explored a little bit of Colorado, and then came back and stayed here for a month and explored Boulder. So that was a nice, pleasant surprise that certainly extended the time of my road trip. But that's another great thing about road trips where, if you don't have to have these hard, fast plans of when you have to be in point A, point B, I was just drifting. I knew I wanted to hit up this destination, that destination, but whether it takes 2 months or a year, that doesn't matter. And it's the kind of thing where some of the best spots that I went to on this entire road trip were from word of mouth, from other hikers saying, hey, you need to check out this hot spring. It's just 3 hours down the road. Next thing I know, I'm staying at this hot spring for planning on 2 nights, and I'm there for 4 nights because of how awesome it is. So just being able to completely upend your plans and be very versatile and free-flowing was a very awesome experience as well. So next time we'll check in and go through some Colorado adventures. Again, Colorado and Utah were by far the highlights. So much to see and so many things to do and so much nature and some great people. So I hope you do good things. Have a great day, and we'll see you Friday. That's nice.